the lunch break, sponsored by Bayou Beat News. Bayou Beat, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. I am, of course, KG Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. And joining me today is colleague Queen Kanitra Pulliams. How are you doing, ma'am?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Thank you, as always, for joining me on the Takeover. And again, sponsored by Bayou Beat, BayouBeatNews.com, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. We're going to get into, not going to talk my alma mater. We're going to spend time talking about KP's alma mater in a few minutes. But first, Mr. De'Aaron Fox from the Houston area, kind of Katy, but we claim that too in H-Town. Claim a lot of stuff, you know. Mr. De'Aaron Fox, Wednesday, after shoot around, he gave some more specifics because Tuesday it was reported that he told the Kings that he was open to being traded. That's not quite what Mr. Fox said, KP. This is courtesy of Chris Biderman from the Sacramento Bee. Okay. And it's De'Aaron Fox confirmed Wednesday what became public Tuesday. The Kings guard validated reports the team was fielding calls and trade offers for the former All-Star and indicated he wouldn't be surprised if he were moved ahead of the February 6th trade deadline. Quote from Mr. Fox, "In this league, I expect the unexpected. I think crazier things have happened. Here's the one thing I like. ESPN 1320 in Sacramento, Damian Barling on Tuesday was first to note trade talks involving the 8-year veteran were heating up before the news became national when ESPN's Shams Charania posted on Musk, you know what that is, that the Kings were expected to, quote, open up talks to potentially trade Fox. Mr. Fox said, that's their decision to make. I can't tell them not to listen to offers, or I can't tell them to listen to offers. Fox confirmed he has not requested a trade, KP, and gave no indication he plans on sitting out games until the situation is resolved. Let's stop right there.
So he's no Jimmy Butler.
You said it. I was where I was going. That's right where I was going. But what are your thoughts on it? I'll get back to the other part of the article in a second.
No, it's a very diplomatic answer, and you can take it at face value that he may not have requested a trade, but he understands it's a business, expect the unexpected. So just because he hasn't, does that not mean that his agent or manager has on his behalf? Because if you read it, he is being truthful. He has not. Mm-hmm. That does not mean one hasn't been requested. It just means directly he hasn't.
Clutch Sports. That's why you have agents. That's why you have representation.
Absolutely.
That work for you. Right.
Exactly. And then you wonder just kind of the stability factor within the organization, with the dismissal of Mike Brown and the coaching change, just kind of like, all right, going forward, how bought in, how committed, are these players when, maybe they thought, maybe they had a certain rapport with Mike Brown, and then the direction, and it may not even be personal, but it's just different. Mm-hmm. And so they're just like, I don't want to see this thing through. So if it happens, it happens. If not, well, I'll be a professional and do what I'm paid to do.
And before I get back to the article, you brought up the other person's name, the older person who should know better, but it's his pattern. Mm-hmm. One James Butler. What is your opinion of how he's handling the situation with the Miami Heat organization.
You know, you with every antic, you lose. I'm not going to say you. I lose respect for him because there's a way about a mutual parting of ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing mutual about this. There's no amicable separation. This is just, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I'm going to kick sand in your face at the beach. Like, okay, I'm going to walk out of practice. I'm going to miss the team playing. Like, dude, like, come on.
You know, and he walked out of practice / shoot around when he was informed he was going to be coming off the bench after his second suspension, which led to his now indefinite suspension.
Right.
I'm with you. You could have said, if you could speak for me on that one. I lose respect for players who handle their exits like this.
Yeah.
I never, and I don't see it ever changing, begrudge a player for getting paid.
No.
Get that money because ownership, they offered it, they signed it to it, so they must have it. Okay. But there's a way, I think, to agree to part, to decide to leave a franchise. And this is Jimmy Butler's pattern. This isn't the first time he's tried to burn down an organization. So that just adds to my losing respect for him. He's 35 years old. He's past his prime.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of leverage either.
No.
When he says, yeah, I'm going to be a free agent this summer. So, okay, you're telling teams that if they trade for you, you still want to be a free agent. So you're kind of hurting your leverage there for teams to trade for you. So
basically, you're on loan. You're like a library book.
You know, you're on loan. You're a rental. Yeah. He already told Memphis reportedly that he's not going to go to Memphis because Memphis, the Grizzlies have already stated, yeah, we'll take you out on loan, rent you, but we have no plans of giving you your 2-year, $112 million contract extension that you want. We're not giving you that.
Prove it and earn it.
So Jimmy's like, well, yeah, I'm not going to Memphis. So he talked about Phoenix is his number one choice. The Suns, Matt Ishbia, the owner. Hey, Matt, if you want to toss some money around willy-nilly, hit me up. hit me up right here. If you just want to just throw money away, hit me up. Advertise at thehrr.com because Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, that's not going to win a championship. It's nice and stars, all that kind of no. And of course, the only way they can do that in Phoenix is by trading Mr. Brad Beal. And Brad Beal has a no trade clause. Mm-hmm. And because he has a no trade clause, Brad said, well, I have certain teams that I will agree to go to. Mm-hmm. And supposedly he prefers teams in warmer climates. This is new one on me. He doesn't want to go to the cold weather. Well, okay, but that's his right because he has a no trade clause.
Sure.
So the Suns are kind of, Brad. Well, what if we do this? No, I'm not. I don't want to go there. But
at least that is a respectable, way of handling your business. Like you can list your preferences, and you have that clause, so you have the leverage to be like, yeah, nope. Maybe, without becoming a distraction to your team.
And we're talking here on the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, BayouBeatNews.com, about Mr. Butler and also Mr. Fox, De'Aaron Fox, who has, because of the trade discussion, surpassed Mr. Butler as the most desirable player in the NBA to acquire before the deadline on February 6th. And that probably rubs Mr. Butler wrong as well, being he thinks he's better than he is. But anyway, go ahead. What are we going to say?
who's to say? I mean, based on past behavior, current behavior, past behavior, who's to say that Jimmy Butler won't pout if he gets another chance to go somewhere else and continue his professional career? If he's not playing the amount of minutes he wants to play, if that coach and that general manager and that organization thinks it's best for the team for him to come off the bench or to play a reduced role, what's to stop him from like making faces and again with the histrionics, what's to stop him from doing that? Because he's shown he's done it before.
Not finding his joy on the court. You know, he misses his joy, KP. He doesn't have the joy in Miami. He can't get that back. He won't get it back. He's lost that joy.
The world didn't give and the world can't take it away.
You know, I mean, and apparently, I think it was ESPN's Ramona Shelburne. It might have been Tim McMahon, but somebody at ESPN wrote that in previous years, the Heat organization allowed Mr. Butler to do some of these favorite status things. You know, they allowed him to not be with the team in the playoffs.
Diva.
They allowed him to not fly on the same plane. And
so they created the monster. And that surprised me, considering how old school Pat Riley is. Right.
And it's apparently surprised D Wade and LeBron and Chris Bosh and, you know, the guys who played part of the Heat culture in previous years. Wait, hold up. What are you letting this man? Why is he getting all this special treatment? We didn't get that special treatment. So in that sense, Miami has to share some blame.
Sure.
Because they allowed it to happen. They allowed it to fester.
Yeah.
It's like what the Rockets did with James Harden here. They allowed James to get away with whatever he wanted to do.
They enable the bad behavior.
Yes. So
now all of a sudden, when it becomes too much, then you're like, enough is enough. But like, well,
you helped create this monster.
Right. Because like, you know, you just kind of like dangle the carrot of bad behavior. And he's like, okay, let me see how much more I can get away with. Let me just kind of just see how much further he can push it before they're just kind of like, we don't need you.
You know, star treatment, celebrity status, all those things. But you still should have parameters, and especially in team sports. And coaches know it. I mean, I've heard Coach Sampson say it. And trust me, we'll get back to De'Aaron Fox and article momentarily. But coaches know, teams know. There is a hierarchy. Players understand that. But after a while, players, teammates, they start to recognize, damn, they're letting this man or woman do whatever the hell he wants to do.
Right.
This is still a team.
Double standard.
It's a double standard. So that can't happen. It shouldn't happen. It still does. I mean, it probably happens in all levels of sports too.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it right, but it still happens. Happens in other levels of society, politics, and other things that you get away with based on who you know and all that kind of stuff and how much money you have. But back to the article. Mr. Fox also confirmed, I love this, he has a preferred destination should he get traded, and pointed to what's been reported about the San Antonio Spurs being his preferred landing spot.
Okay.
Quote, the quote is kind of strange because it doesn't really say what that statement I just read says. But quote, for sure, I think everybody has a preferred destination. I think everybody has a preferred destination if they're not in the place that, pause, or if they're not going to be in the place where they are in the moment. Okay. I think it's natural. At no time did he say San Antonio Spurs, okay? Because, as you stated, there's a way to do things. There's a way to say things. So he didn't say San Antonio Spurs flatly, at least not in that statement in the Sacramento Bee. it's been reported, hinted at for weeks that the Spurs, it might have been Rich Paul, Clutch Sports, that's Mr. Fox's representation. One, it was kind of pushing the Spurs as the possible destination. I remember saying, I saw that, heard it, all that kind of stuff. One of my best friends texted me like 2 weeks ago about, wow, De'Aaron Fox going to, it wasn't the Rockets. It wasn't the Spurs. It was some other NBA team. And it said, the text was, wow, De'Aaron Fox wants to go here. I replied back, bro, the Spurs is the team of choice that he wants to go to. And my friend's like, what? Really? I'm like, yeah, man, trust me on that. So anyone in media, national media, especially national media, who seems surprised that the Spurs and De'Aaron Fox are like linked, potentially linked, where have y'all been? Because little old me, little old Houston Roundball Review knew about that weeks ago. So this is like, okay, yeah, it's playing out in a good, respectful way. Mm-hmm. Not as in, as you said about Mr. Butler, taking my ball and going home, which he literally did after during shoot around. What? I'm not starting? I'm going to go now. Come on, that's not right. All right, whatever, Jimmy. So that's where, but if it happens, and it's a hypothetical, but Wemby and De'Aaron Fox, what are your thoughts on that pairing being successful? Or how successful would that pairing be?
No, I mean, I do think, Spurs need a lot more help than that. I'm not saying De'Aaron Fox won't be an improvement, but he's not the missing piece.
Okay. How much do the Spurs need to start winning chips again?
Well, first, what is Pop's health?
Fair. And I saw a report he coming back in February at some point, maybe after the All-Star break, maybe.
And then it's just like, how many more years does Chris Paul have?
And what happens to Chris Paul for the Spurs to get De'Aaron Fox? Yeah. That's part of it. Chris Paul has come off the bench before. It's not like it's a first thing for him. But, there are things that need to happen for the deal to happen. Mm-hmm. I asked Rocket fans during my popular, thank you, Rocket fans, popular Let's Talk Houston Rockets post-game shows that I started doing. And most of them were like, well, very few of them are like, De'Aaron Fox and Wemby, as fans, Rocket fans, I'm not scared of that. Everybody talking about Wemby and Fox being all this, that, and other. I ain't scared. Bring it on. Bring it on. Trade for De'Aaron Fox, whatever. We got Amin Thompson now. Amin Thompson is his play of late.
Okay.
And let me know if you agree with this, because I believe this. His upside is all NBA. He could be one of the best 15 players in the NBA. Do you agree with that? And that's offense and defense.
I cannot make a fair assessment because I don't watch it like that.
That's fair. See, that's a great answer. It's an honest answer. Thank you for that. That's why you're a part of this show. Even though you are an alum of that school in Austin, which we'll talk about now. Steve Berkowitz, Mr. Money from USA Today, and David Eckert wrote earlier this week, Texas Athletics Department topped $300 million in revenue and operating expenses in 2024. Wow, that's a lot of money. Wow, that's Willie Gibson money, KP. That's big time money right there. But University of Texas Athletic Department again has shown its status as a national college sports business leviathan, like that, recording $331.9 million in operating revenues and $325 million in operating expenses during its 2024 fiscal year, according to its new financial report to the NCAA. USA Today obtained the document Monday through an open records request. This is the first time since the NCAA began its current reporting system in 2005 that a Division I public school has reported more than $300 million in both revenues and expenses in the same year. Just right there. I'm going to get more of the article momentarily. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you got to pay to play. It helped, the success of, winning the Capital One Commissioner's Cup, just the success kind of across the athletic department, for women. And then it also helps with the added revenue from joining the SEC. And, as long as Texas is competitive, they should continue to generate money. And you got to have a visionary in administration just to be able to look for those opportunities to remain on top. But at the same time, you have to have a successful product. You can't just be a brand without having some substance behind it.
Correct. That money on both sides, revenue and expenses, is also the largest single year spending total, exceeding Willie Gibson, the $292.3 million that Ohio State reported for fiscal 2024 in a disclosure that occurred earlier on Monday. However, a separate independent accounting report also obtained Monday through an open records request showed several caveats to Texas's new figures. The largest of those on the revenue side was what the accountant's report described as, quote, a large one-time donation to fund the construction of the new Moody Center, end quote, an on-campus arena that opened in spring 2022. Altogether, Texas reported receiving, this blows my mind. That's like Houston's budget right there. Receiving $133.9 million in contributions during a fiscal year. Actually, that's more than the Cougars' budget. It's like 110 or something like that. During a fiscal year ending August 31st, 2024, nearly $48 million more than it reported receiving in fiscal 2023. The rise in contributions also attributed to, quote, a general increase in pledge donations due to increased fundraising efforts, aided by the success of the football team, as KP said, gotta win, which went 12-2 during the 2023 season, won the Big 12 championship last year in the Big 12. Take that, Brett, your mark. And played in a college football playoff semifinal. The precise donation amount for the arena was not provided, but the report stated that a $53.6 million increase in Longhorns facilities expenses in 2024 was due to a $43 million payment on the Moody Center, funded in part through contributions. Similarly, Oregon reported $391.8 million in revenue for 2020, but that included more than $270 million as a contribution for the renovation of its track and field stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Knight, all that. Boy, Phil Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Phil Knight. I know you. Bill, just saying. advertised at the HR.com. There's a theme. There's a pattern here, KP. Noticing the theme here? But even with $43 million taken out of the Longhorns' 2024 revenue and expense figures, the totals are $288.9 million in operating revenue and $282 million in operating expense, not including nearly $2.8 million that the athletics department reported transferring to the institution. And those revenue and expense figures still are among the greatest single year amount recorded by a public school. All that to say, all that says what to you, Miss Alone?
Haves and have-nots.
And indeed, amen.
And I mean, until, because eventually there's going to be a cap. But if none of the donors or contributors are complaining and are willingly, giving the money whatever means they are, keep the funds flowing.
And I was serious when I said the donation, that $133 million, that is more than the Houston athletics budget. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, but that's, you have to have the personnel in place, savvy, business-minded fundraisers who know how to attract the contributions that are needed to sustain the athletic department successfully.
Agreed. And I kid, but I'm also serious when I say this. I am not great at fundraising. So I could use someone who could fundraise, and because it's a knack for it. Being successful at fundraising is a skill. And that's a skill that I have not acquired.
Yeah.
It's
bartering.
It's special talent.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And we are near, not quite exactly at it, but near the bottom of the hour of this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, powered by JM&E. The Takeover is also available via the BS3 Network. You're watching the show. You can watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Roku, courtesy of BS3 TV. If you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If not, you can go to bs3network.com or bs3tvlive.com. And if you're curious about what BS3 is all about, well, I'm going to play a little promo clip to give you an indication of exactly what BS3 is about. You're watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat News, powered by JM&E, via the BS3 Network. Be back in 35 seconds.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back to the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, sponsored by Bayou Beat, BayouBeatNews.com. Bayou Beat, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. I am, of course, KG Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. And with me on the Takeover is my colleague, Miss Kanitra Pulliams. KP, again, thank you for joining me. Appreciate you as always. How are you doing?
I'm good.
First part of the hour, first part of the show,
Mm-hmm.
we touched on Mr. Fox, De'Aaron Fox, Mr. Butler, Jimmy Butler, as well as the Texas Longhorns, University of Texas Athletic Department rolling in dough that we aspire to maybe one day attain ourselves. But speaking of a lot of money, February 1st is almost here. It is the date that WNBA teams can officially sign free agents. I say officially because reports have already come out that some of those agreements have already taken place.
Mm-hmm.
One signing, I think I have it on this slide. I'll discuss it. Discuss the trade here momentarily. But the Indiana Fever announced that free agent guard Kelsey Mitchell has signed a one-year deal at the guaranteed supermax salary of $249,244 to stay with the Fever. The next one, Brittney Griner announced, and I love this, KP. BG announced this on her Instagram as a reel. She's joining the Atlanta Dream also on a one-year deal. And she kind of did it in a way that you, Willie Gibson, and I discussed was possible, likely during the time of players, WNBA players who are participating in Unrivaled in Miami. You got plenty of time to talk with free agents, schmooze with them, talk to them. Hey, we got this over here at our organization. Our franchise has this, but those kind of things. And so BG, at the beginning of the IG reel, she caught herself. She introduced Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, Jordan Canada. They're on it was a boat, it wasn't a yacht. They were fishing, get ready to go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
BG caught herself because she said, I'm here on a boat with Ryan Howard, Jordan Canada, Alicia Gray. And he said, oh, my fault. I should have said, I'm here with my new teammates, Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, and Jordan Canada, because, yes, I had decided to sign with the Atlanta Dream. So it's just a new era of free agency, making news, their brand, spreading the word, getting the word out about it. What are your thoughts on that?
You control the narrative.
Yeah. And it's key. And based on what I saw, unless they did some great editing, somebody can fish because they caught some nice sized fish, on the boat. So look at that. And Brittney, I've known Brittney since she was in 10th grade at Aldine Nimitz High School. And she's been through a lot on the court, off the court, personal life, all those things. She has a show dropping, I think next week, called, I want to say it's called Outside the Paint. It'll debut next week. Toward the end of her reel on Instagram, she got the title of the show wrong. She called it Outside the Lines. And one of her new teammates said to her, you could hear the teammate off away from the mic, that's the wrong name of the show. And Brittany's like, oh, that's right. My fault. I should have said Outside the Paint. So they didn't edit that out, but it's just BG being BG.
But I mean, you can appreciate that because it's not, it's the unvarnished, it's kind of, it's real, it's relatable when we all, misspeak and, minds going faster than your mouth's moving or, vice versa. But like, it's not, you don't need your publicist to make it all nice and shiny with a bow. It's just like, hey, this is me. Let's connect. Oops, my bad.
Yeah. So I got a kick out of it. And I did not know, I did not know she made her announcement on IG. I read about it, I think, in the Next, an article in the Next, which is a publication really dedicated to women's sports, not just hoops. So women's sports, basketball, soccer, all of it, women's sports. And I read it. And I think it was mentioned there that BG announced it on IG. So I went to IG, checked it out. I was like, oh, control your narrative, get the word out. Salute. So kudos to her. She will be inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame in Waco on February 15th. Other inductees include Ed Too Tall Jones, Chris Plonsky. So some heavy hitters. And I might have a colleague there attending and covering the event as a representative of the Houston Roundball Review. So put in that request. Knock on wood. KP, whatever you have wood around you, knock on wood. Hope that gets approved. But get back to this. These two announcements. Kelsey Mitchell staying with the Fever, a 1-year deal. Brittney Griner signing a 1-year deal. It was reported on Wednesday. Courtney Vandersloot going back to the Sky, a 1-year deal. Viewers, it's a theme. Nearly every free agent signing you see starting on February 1st will be for 1 year. And that is intentional because the new CBA will go into effect. Well, assuming we hope it goes into effect, you hope the Player Association and the league reach an agreement after this 2025 season ends and reaches an agreement without a work stoppage next year before the 2026 season starts. But whenever the new CBA collective bargaining agreement is finalized, the salary caps are going to go up because of the new TV deal, new money coming into the league. So that's why all these veterans are signing 1-year deals, because they want to be part of that increase in salary cap for the teams. So they're expecting bumps in pay. So it's a smart business. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, all of it, it's just kind of, for BG, she's only ever known playing in Phoenix professionally, WNBA. But you don't know what that organization is going to look like. Like, Diana Taurasi hasn't made her announcement. I mean, they've had the send-off and they've had the celebration and the honors and, but so it's just like, so BG's just like, and, she said it was, she enjoyed her time in Phoenix, but, she made this decision personally and professionally. It's good for her family. She has a newborn, so, and she just liked the atmosphere, surrounding the dream, but yeah, it's in these professional athletes' best interest. It's just like, don't lock yourself into some long-term deal when you don't know what the market's going to bear a year from now.
And to that, this rookie draft class, this WNBA draft class that happened in April, will be the last draft class under this current WNBA, old WNBA. So rookies, first-round rookies especially, will be locked into 4-year contracts. I think that's what it is for rookies. First-round picks get 4-year deals at the lower salaries. So teams are, for these rookies, they want star players to declare for this draft so they can get him in on the lower salaries. There's one young lady who kind of holds a lot of cards. One Miss Paige Bueckers, who could go back to UConn if she wanted to and declare for be draft eligible in 2026 under the new WNBA salary cap, draft rules, etc. She could decide to leave UConn after this season, play overseas for a year, play in Unrivaled or Athletes Unlimited in the States and make her money and not play in the WNBA in 2025 and go back to being the draft in 2026. What do you think she would do? What advice would you give her?
I'm not one to give you look, make your money however you best see fit. I mean, I don't think she's going back to UConn. I think she will be a professional. I don't know where. I think this is her last year at UConn. I'll put it like that.
Agree. I agree with that as well. The Dallas Wings have the first pick in the draft. And just saying Dallas franchise-wise, Dallas WNBA status-wise, is not the ideal place for star players, someone on the tier of Paige Bueckers, all those kind of things. So she has some leverage there. So I'm kind of curious what she's going to do. I agree with you. I don't think she's going back to college, going back to UConn. KP, she's going to shock the world. She's going to shock the world and make me happy, put a smile on my face, and shock the college landscape and say, you know what? I'm going to go to the University of Houston for my last year and bring them to the tournament. That'll be the ultimate cherry on top. I'm going to surprise Chris Gardner with this news. I'm going to send it to give him a shout out on Instagram or TikTok or whatever she uses, whatever, and say, I'm coming to Houston, Chris. We're going to put butts in the seats. They're going to come see us and come see the Cougs. We're going to the tournament. No, that's not going to happen. I think I got jokes. I got jokes. Yeah. But I can dream. Hey, I'm a dreamer. Boy, that'd be a hell of a dream. But anyway, other deals, reported trades that have been agreed to. Curious to get the thoughts on both of these. First, Las Vegas Aces, LA Sparks, Seattle Storm involved in a 3-team deal. Aces get Jewel Lloyd and a 13th pick in the 2025 draft. Sparks get Kelsey Plum, the 9th pick in the 2025 draft, and a 2026 second-round pick. Storm get 6'7" Lee Yu-Ru, plus the 2nd pick in 2025 draft, and a 2026 first-round pick. What are your thoughts on that? And it'll be official on February 1st.
Yeah. I'm surprised to see Kelsey Plum leave the Aces. Because that Las Vegas was also whispered to have interest in BG. Mm-hmm. To have a complimentary big to go alongside, the MVP, Asia Wilson. But that the dominoes didn't fall in that direction. So, I mean, of that 3-team trade, I mean, my biggest thing is to see Kelsey Plum leave.
It's interesting. Kelsey Plum is a couple of years younger than Jewel Lloyd. KP, Chelsea Gray, Asia, Jackie Young. That's a hell of a foursome. But there were times this season they just went. It's like their greatness had run its course. And like a change needed to be made.
Are you saying it got stale?
I think at times it did get stale. At times it looked like there were teams that were simply just better than they were. Like the Aces could not kick in that extra gear.
That championship level.
Right. They couldn't reach anymore. And as an H-Town resident, any WNBA team that fails to get close to winning a four in a row, I'm all in favor of. So I wasn't sad about that. But from a basketball standpoint, I'm kind of curious to see Jewel Lloyd's fit with the Aces. She did not shoot the ball well last season with Seattle. Kelsey Plum's defense is hot and cold. Let's be honest about that too. But Kelsey Plum, Rakia Jackson, Cameron Brinks, that's a nice trio. As far as I know, the Sparks still don't have their own facilities for them to practice like the Aces do. So that's an issue. Seattle, it's kind of starting over. It's NECA's team now. It's ironic. Jewel Lloyd won championship with Seattle. So it caused a lot of dominoes. I'm kind of curious to see how the other pieces fit, what those teams do to add to their rosters. You touched on the Aces, what they're going to do. Aces have a new coaching staff behind Becky Hammond because everybody else is left for head coaching jobs. So that's going to be a challenge. But the next deal, Connecticut Sun trade Alyssa Thomas to the Mercury. Connecticut gets Natasha Cloud, Levy T. Cloud, Rebecca Allen, number 12 pick in the 25 draft. Phoenix gets Alyssa Thomas and Ty Harris. Your thoughts on that one?
I don't follow it close enough to know the intricacies of, what the Sun need. So, yeah.
But from enough, basically it's kind of like Alyssa Thomas is replacing Brittney Griner in terms of, AT's probably going to have to play the center spot. She played power forward in Connecticut. She's a different player than BG. She's more of a facilitator. I mean, AT averages, gets triple doubles, with assists, rebounds, bring about the floor. So she's a different kind of player. She wanted out of Connecticut, though. She wanted to be away from the Sun organization because she was fed up. The final straw that broke the camel's back was when the Sun team got booted from their facility for a kid's birthday party. So that was it for her. So Connecticut, Mohegan Sun tribe, they're in charge of that facility. They're in charge of that whole everything. Mm-hmm. They need to invest and do better because now in this age of free agency, WNBA, and more money coming into the league and in players' pockets. We touched on it last Thursday's show about Unrivaled and the amenities afforded the players in Unrivaled and how they are taking notes about which WNBA teams do not have similar amenities. Connecticut is one of those franchises. So we'll see how it all plays out. I'm curious to see how Brittney Griner fits in Atlanta with the dream.
With the new coach.
Who's a three-point. He loves the three-point shot. Loves it a lot. Like Mike D'Antoni loves three-point shot. BG she's not a spring chicken anymore.
No.
She could be the hub. The offense on the low post. And I guess, teams can decide if they want to double team her.
And kick
have her
it
kick it out for the open threes. So that's going to be interesting to see how it all fits. I'm glad we're doing this on this edition of the Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, because I'm letting folks know who are new to the Houston Roundball Review. Yes, KG and KP, we can talk WNBA too. We can talk women's basketball, college and pro, here on the Takeover. We do this. Not new to this. We are true to this. These final minutes, I'm going to put my head down for a moment, take my medicine or my team's medicine after they got steamrolled by Don Staley's favorite NFL team. That's the Eagles, if you don't know, who Just took the Commanders out by the woodshed, 55-23. Ran them over. I mean, 7 rushing touchdowns. I didn't watch him to win. I hoped it had been more competitive than it was. Clearly it wasn't. But your thoughts on that game and the result?
Yeah, I mean, turnovers.
Yep.
Extra opportunities. But the determined way that Saquon is running the ball. But take nothing away from what Jalen Daniels has done. And I mean, Kingsbury turns down the Saints job to stay put. So I don't think this is a 1-year flash for the Commanders. I mean, I do think they're going to, they'll compete for NFC East titles. So
hopefully. I mean, this year was exceeded expectations clearly in Washington, probably within the organization, if they're being honest, and I think they are. Defense, secondary, there are holes that need to be filled, plugged. Just got to figure out how to do them wisely and not irrationally, and just continue to grow and improve. Have you heard people within the NFL, hell, within teams? You go to Kansas City, it's us against KC and the refs and KC and the NFL. The Chiefs have league, favorite league status. Where do you fall in that discussion?
No, I mean, it depends who you're rooting for. If you are a part of the Chiefs kingdom, you're going to be like, that's blasphemous. No, Chiefs aren't. Patrick Mahomes isn't coddled and protected, calls that, whether it's the Texans or, other teams that are just like, how do they get away with calls? And it, it's kind of like back when Duke was winning basketball, it's just like, they're hated. And so like there are articles going around like, why are the Chiefs the most hated? Why does everybody hate the Chiefs? I don't think they hate the Chiefs. There's just the perception that they wouldn't be this good, going for an unprecedented 3rd Super Bowl title if it wasn't for some assistance from the refs. But of course, if you live in Kansas City or you are a Chiefs supporter, you think they're just talented and coached better than any other team.
Sticking with a Kansas team, you have any info on DeJuan Harris's ankle injury and like how long he'll be out? He hurt it in practice. He did play in KU's come from behind win over UCF. A gutsy win for the Jayhawks. But your thoughts on the Jayhawks? KJ Adams came back in that game. They found a way to win. They bounced back after a heartbreaking home loss to the Cougars in the way they lost.
Yeah, I mean, and see, that's the thing. Like DeJuan, he's slight. He's got thin ankles. Up next, you got Baylor in Waco.
A game the Bears need to win.
Which lost a tough game in overtime at BYU. And so DeJuan, it's not his offense that makes the biggest impact. It's his defense. Right. You put him on the other team's best scorer, and he'll lock them down. That's his primary assignment. Yes, Bill Self wants him to shoot more or look to shoot more. And kind of, in that loss to Houston, it was kind of a, free throws. it's unusual for him to miss, 2 free throws. And so Bill Self was asked, was fatigue a factor? And immediately he's like, no. But then he thought about it, and Bill Self had to admit that, yeah, going to overtime, he's like, our guys were spent. So that led to maybe mental fatigue, the inability to inbound the ball properly, but as well as when your legs are shot, your free throw struggle. And that's, that's kind of what befell the Jayhawks against Houston. But, the return game is what, March 3rd?
March 3rd, yes.
Big Monday.
And
but yeah, that's the thing, is like, because Bill Self is always like, you have to find a complementary guard, and Zeke Mayo is handling a lot of those responsibilities. He's more of an offensive threat than DeJuan Harris is, and so he came up big against UCF, but at the same time, you need DeJuan's presence on the defensive end.
excellent summary of the Jayhawks. Thank you. I appreciate your insight there. And you brought it up. Kansas come to Houston March 3rd. If you are, as you're watching this show, watching the Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat News, I urge you to watch the January 29th Les Rage Coogs post-game show, because we had a special guest, UH alum Robert Fluff McKeever. And Fluff said he's in Atlanta now with his family, but he will be back in town the first time on campus in 10 years, March 3rd, for the Cougs game against Kansas. And I truly watched that show because I'm old. I've covered the Cougs a long time, but Fluff warmed my heart. He's like, yeah, Chris, I remember you, man. Back in the day, you covered me. I remember you. So it was a great show. We had a lot of fun on that edition of Les Rage Coogs. So that'll wrap up this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, BayouBeatNews.com. Bayou Beat News, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. I am KG Chris Gardner. She is KP Kenitra Pulliams. You know my question I ask you at the end of every show. Has it changed yet?
Hadn't changed.
So just keep up a KP here on the Takeover. That's how you do that. But I am KG Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Subscribe to the Houston Roundball Review on YouTube. Get BS3 on Roku. But always support the Roundball Review. If you want to advertise on the Roundball Review on this show, email advertise at THE. Some of y'all say some of y'all say the HRR.com. Order your Houston Roundball Review merch. So advertise, order, various ways to support the Houston Roundball Review that has been around since 1994. So in conclusion, since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review. Local name, global perspective. Everyone, take care. Peace.